is one of his most revolutionary and controversial ideas, the concept of herd morality. He argued that for most of human history, value systems were created by the powerful, the noble, the strong. He called this master morality. In this system, the noble individual looked at themselves, at their courage, their pride, their ambition, their power, and called it good. They looked at the opposite, the weak, the timid, the fearful, the pathetic, and called it bad. It was a simple, life-affirming morality that flowed directly from a position of strength. But the masters were always few, and the masses, the herd, were many. The herd, living in a state of weakness and oppression, developed a different set of values out of necessity and, crucially, out of a deep, simmering resentment which Nietzsche called by the French term ressentiment. They could not defeat the masters on the field of battle, so they waged a campaign of psychological and spiritual warfare. They performed what Nietzsche called a transvaluation of values. They took everything the master was, powerful, proud, ambitious, wealthy, even healthy, and they rebranded it as evil. Then, they took everything they were, poor, humble, meek, submissive, suffering, and they elevated it, calling it good. The eagle, who soars high and sees the world from a position of power, was declared evil. The lamb, meek and part of the flock, was declared good. Pride became a sin. Humility became a virtue. Strength became aggression. Pity became a noble emotion. It was a complete inversion of the natural order, a rebellion of the slaves in the realm of morality. And, Nietzsche argues, this rebellion won. This, he warns, is the dominant moral operating system of our world. It is a system designed not to foster excellence, but to ensure the comfort and safety of the collective. It is a morality for the herd, and its primary function is to tame the individual will, to shear the tall poppies, to ensure that no one rises too far above the rest. We are all born into this system. It is in the air we breathe. We are taught to feel guilty for our ambitions, to apologize for our strengths, to see self-interest as a moral failing. We are encouraged to conform, to seek consensus, to find our identity within the group. The herd fears the individual who thinks for themselves, who sets their own course, who defines their own values. That individual is a threat to the cohesion of the flock. The dangerously confident person, therefore, must become a moral revolutionary. They must undertake their own revaluation of all values. This is a terrifying and liberating process. It means putting every single one of your inherited beliefs on trial. You must stop outsourcing your conscience and become your own lawgiver. You must move from asking, "Is this what a good person would do?" to asking a different set of questions. Does this action affirm my life and my growth, or does it diminish me? Does this belief empower me to become a stronger version of myself, or does it make me weaker and more dependent? Is this value something I have consciously chosen, or is it something I have passively absorbed from the herd? Let's take a common herd value, being nice. We are taught that niceness is a supreme virtue. But Nietzsche would compel us to look deeper. Is your niceness a genuine expression of strength and kindness? Or is it a strategy born of fear? Are you nice because you are terrified of conflict, because you desperately want to be liked, because you dare not speak an uncomfortable truth? This niceness is not a virtue, it is a mask for cowardice. The truly strong person is not nice. They are capable of immense kindness, but also of terrible, righteous anger. They can be compassionate, but they are not pathologically agreeable. Their goodness has teeth. Or consider another, humility. Is your humility a recognition of the vastness of the universe and your own limitations? Or is it a performative self-deprecation designed to make others feel comfortable, a way to avoid the envy of the herd by pretending you are less than you are. To build your own morality is the ultimate act of sovereignty. It means defining your own virtues. Perhaps your highest virtue is not humility, but integrity, the courage to live in alignment with your own chosen values. Perhaps it is not agreeableness, but honesty, the strength to speak the truth, even when it is difficult. Perhaps it is not comfort, but discipline, the ability to command yourself to do what is necessary for your own flourishing. Get a journal. Write at the top, "My virtues." And then, with ruthless honesty, define the code you will live by. This document becomes your personal constitution. When you are guided by your own, consciously chosen laws, the judgment of the herd loses its power. Your confidence will become anchored not in their approval, but in your own integrity. You will be the judge, the jury, and the legislator of your own soul. And there is no greater freedom than that. Part 3, Becoming the Übermensch, the goal of your existence. So, you have reignited the engine of your will to power. You have begun the revolutionary act of creating your own moral code, stepping away from the herd. But where is this path leading? What is the goal? Is it merely to be a powerful individual in a meaningless world? Nietzsche gives us a breathtaking, aspirational answer. He gives us a new goal for humanity, now that the old goals of heavenly salvation are no longer believable. He gives us the concept of the Übermensch, or Overman. Let's immediately discard the pop culture image of a caped superhero. The Übermensch is not a biological evolution with superpowers. It is a spiritual and psychological evolution. It is the human being who has fully overcome the human, all too human, our pettiness, our envy, our laziness, our need for comforting illusions. To understand the Übermensch, it is easier to first understand its opposite, which Nietzsche described with utter contempt, the last man. The last man is the ultimate product of herd morality. He is the person who lives for comfort and security above all else. His world is small, safe, and utterly devoid of greatness. The last man works a little, plays a little, and is content with his tiny pleasures. He takes no risks. He has no great ambitions or great sorrows. He looks at the stars and blinks. What is love? What is creation? What is a star? Asks the last man, and he blinks. There is no more striving, no more overcoming. There is only the endless, trivial pursuit of contentment. For Nietzsche, this was the ultimate horror, the heat death of the human spirit. The Übermensch is the antidote to the last man. The Übermensch is the being who, realizing that the universe has no inherent meaning, does not fall into despair. Instead, they see this as the ultimate liberation. If there is no pre-written script, then they are free to write their own. The Übermensch is a creator of values, a self-legislator who lives by their own, life-affirming code. The Übermensch is the master of their own passions. They do not repress their instincts like the priest, nor are they a slave to them like the decadent. They harness the raw power of their drives and sublimate them towards higher, creative ends. Their anger becomes a fuel for justice. Their desire becomes the engine of artistic creation. The Übermensch is defined by the constant process of self-overcoming. This is the practical, daily reality of the path. You do not simply decide to become the Übermensch. You earn it, moment by moment, choice by choice. It is a war waged on 1,000 fronts against your own limitations. Today, your desire for comfort tells you to hit the snooze button. You overcome it and get out of bed. That is a victory for the Übermensch. Your fear tells you not to speak up in a meeting. You overcome it and share your idea. That is a victory for the Übermensch. Your laziness tells you to skip your workout. You overcome it and go to the gym. That is a victory for the Übermensch. Your ego tells you to get defensive when you receive criticism. You overcome it, listen, and seek the truth in it. That is a victory for the Übermensch. This path is not a straight line. It is a spiral upwards, built of countless small victories over the last man within yourself. The Übermensch is not a final destination you arrive at. It is a direction. It is the North Star you navigate by. The confidence that comes from this process is monumental. It is the confidence of the sculptor who knows he can take a raw block of marble, his own flawed, human nature, and carve it into a masterpiece. It is the confidence of an artist who knows they can face a blank canvas, a meaningless existence, and create something of profound beauty and value. This is the ultimate confidence, knowing that you are not a finished product, but a project. A project of self-creation. Your purpose is not to find yourself, but to create yourself. And the version you are creating is stronger, wiser, and more powerful than the version you were yesterday. The Übermensch is the promise of your own potential. Your task is to live a life worthy of that promise. Part 4, The Final Secret, Amor Fati, the Bulletproof Mindset. We now arrive at the final, and perhaps most profound, element of Nietzsche's formula for a dangerously confident life. It is the mindset that seals the entire structure, rendering it invincible. It is the psychological fortress that allows the individual to withstand any storm. This is the doctrine of amor fati, a Latin phrase meaning, a love of one's fate. This is far more radical than simple acceptance or resilience. Many philosophies, like Stoicism, teach you to endure hardship, to accept what you cannot change. Nietzsche demands something more. He demands that you not just accept it, not just endure it, but love it. That you affirm it, joyfully. He challenges you to look at your entire life, every triumph, every heartbreak, every victory, every humiliating failure, every moment of joy, every second of agonizing pain, and say to it all, yes. I would not have it any other way. For it was all necessary. Why? Because every event, good and bad, was a necessary ingredient in the creation of you. To wish away any part of your past, even the most painful parts, is to wish that you were someone else. The person who practices amor fati understands that their wounds are as much a part of their strength as their victories. The failures taught them lessons that success never could. The heartbreaks carved out a depth of character that endless happiness would have left shallow. This is the meaning behind Nietzsche's famous aphorism, that which does not kill me, makes me stronger. It is not a cliché. It is a formula for transmuting suffering into power. The ordinary person is broken by hardship. The person of amor fati is built by it. They see every obstacle not as a roadblock, but as a test designed specifically for them. Every setback is not a tragedy, but a lesson. Every enemy is not a curse, but a teacher who reveals their weaknesses to them. Amor fati makes you psychologically bulletproof. How can anyone hurt you if you see their attacks as a chance to practice your strength? How can failure defeat you if you see it as essential data for your next attempt? How can regret poison your mind if you believe that every past mistake was a necessary step on the path to who you are today? This is the ultimate freedom. When you truly love your fate, you are no longer a victim of circumstance. You are a co-creator with destiny. You stop wasting your precious life energy on complaining, on wishing things were different, on blaming others. All of that energy is reclaimed and redirected towards your will to power, towards the task of self-overcoming. To test whether one has achieved this state, Nietzsche offers his most powerful thought experiment, the eternal recurrence. You came to this video seeking confidence. But what Nietzsche offers is something far more profound. He offers you yourself. The choice, as always, is yours. Become who you are. Imagine, he says, that a demon were to creep into your loneliest loneliness one night and say to you, "This life as you now live it and have lived it, you will have to live once more and innumerable times more, and there will be nothing new in it, but every pain and every joy and every thought and sigh and everything unutterably small or great in your life will have to return to you, all in the same succession and sequence." How would you react? Would you throw yourself down, gnash your teeth, and curse the demon? Or would you look up and declare, "You are a God, and never have I heard anything more divine"? This question is the ultimate litmus test. It forces you to confront the reality of your life as you are living it right now. Are you living a life you would joyfully consent to repeat for eternity? Are your daily habits, your relationships, your work, your choices aligned with your deepest values? The eternal recurrence is not a theory about the universe, it is a challenge to you. Live in such a way that the prospect of eternal repetition would be a blessing, not a curse. This thought transforms every moment. The small act of kindness, the dedicated hour of work, the moment of courage, all of it now has an eternal weight. When you can look at your life, past, present and future, and embrace it with amor fati, you have reached the pinnacle of confidence. It is a confidence that is not dependent on outcomes, because all outcomes are necessary. It is a confidence that is not dependent on the opinions of others, because your fate is your own. You are rooted in the totality of your own existence. And that is a fortress that no one, and nothing, can ever breach. Conclusion: the danger of your new self. We have journeyed through the explosive heart of Friedrich Nietzsche's philosophy. We began with the fundamental engine of existence, the will to power, and learned to fuel it with challenge. We confronted the invisible prison of herd morality and were handed the keys to our own liberation through the revaluation of all values. We were given a new, higher goal for our existence, the relentless, upward path of self-overcoming towards the Übermensch. And finally, we were armed with the ultimate psychological shield, the bulletproof mindset of amor fati, tested by the fire of the eternal recurrence. This is Nietzsche's blueprint for a sovereign individual. It is not an easy path. It is a philosophy of the spiritual warrior. It demands courage, honesty, and a terrifying degree of personal responsibility. There are no external saviors, no comforting dogmas, no excuses. There is only you and the raw material of your life. The danger, as I promised at the beginning, is this: once you begin to truly integrate these ideas, you cannot go back. You cannot unsee the bars of the cage. You will begin to notice the subtle mechanisms of herd morality everywhere, in the news, in your workplace, sometimes even in the mouths of those you love. You will no longer be able to tolerate your own excuses for mediocrity. You will become allergic to the pursuit of mere comfort. You will, in short, no longer fit comfortably into the small boxes that society has prepared for you. You will be different. And the herd is often hostile to that which is different. But your confidence will not care. Because it will be forged in the fires of self-mastery and anchored in the love of your own, unique fate. Look around you. Take a moment, and truly observe. We are living in an age of profound, pervasive insecurity. It hums beneath the surface of our daily lives like a low-frequency noise we've almost grown accustomed to. It's in the reflexive check of our phones, not for information, but for the fleeting dopamine hit of a notification, a like, a comment, a digital whisper telling us, for a moment, that we matter. It's in the corporate meeting room, where brilliant ideas die in the throats of those too timid to speak them, fearing the subtle judgment in a colleague's glance. It's in the endless scrolling through curated lives on social media, a self-flagellating ritual where we compare our messy, unedited reality to the highlight reels of others, and always find ourselves wanting. We have been conditioned, from our earliest days, to seek approval. We are taught that our worth is a reflection in the eyes of others. Be agreeable, be accommodating, fit in. Don't be too loud, too ambitious, too different. We are handed a rulebook for a game of social survival, and the first rule is, don't rock the boat. We learn to sand down our sharp edges, to moderate our passions, to shrink ourselves to fit into pre-approved boxes. We call this politeness. We call this humility. We call this being good. But what if this goodness is the very architecture of a cage that keeps you weak? What if the constant pursuit of external validation is a treadmill that drains your life force with every step, leading you nowhere? What if true, unshakable, foundational confidence isn't about getting more people to like you, but about reaching a point where their liking you is simply irrelevant? What if real power isn't about fitting in, but about having the strength to unapologetically break out? Over a century ago, a philosopher looked at the horizon of the modern world and saw this very sickness spreading. He wasn't a comforting guru or a seller of easy solutions. He was a thinker of dynamite. His name was Friedrich Nietzsche. He diagnosed the spiritual illness of his time, and ours, with terrifying clarity. And he did not offer comforting platitudes or gentle reassurances. He offered a formula. A dangerous, radical, life-altering formula for forging a confidence so profound, so deeply rooted in the core of your own being, that it becomes, in a word, dangerous. Dangerous to the status quo that profits from your anxiety. Dangerous to the old, timid version of yourself that you are about to leave behind. And dangerous to the quiet desperation of a world that wants you to stay small, because your light would expose its shadows. In the next 40 minutes, we are embarking on a journey. We are not just learning philosophy in an academic, dusty sense. We are arming ourselves with a new psychological operating system. We are going to deconstruct the mechanisms of our own insecurity and rebuild, from the ground up, an unshakable self. So, take a deep breath. Prepare to challenge every comfortable assumption you have about who you are and who you are supposed to be. Prepare to become dangerously confident. To begin this transformation, we must first understand the fundamental energy source that Nietzsche identified as the driving force of all existence. This is perhaps his most famous, and certainly his most tragically misinterpreted, concept: the will to power. Let's clear the deck of all the baggage this phrase carries. When you hear will to power, your mind might conjure images of tyrants, of brutal domination, of the jackboot of one person on the neck of another. This caricature is the result of a century of deliberate distortion, most infamously by Nietzsche's own anti-Semitic sister, who twisted his works to fit the monstrous ideology of the Nazis. This is not Nietzsche. This is a perversion of his thought. To understand the will to power, you must stop thinking of it as power over others. Instead, you must see it as the power of the self. It is an internal, metaphysical drive. It is the fundamental, striving impulse that exists in every living thing. A tree in a dense forest doesn't just want to survive, it relentlessly pushes upwards, seeking more light, more space, expressing its nature to its fullest extent. A river doesn't just flow, it carves canyons through solid rock over millennia, overcoming resistance and reshaping the world around it. The scientist in the lab doesn't just want a paycheck, she is driven by an insatiable hunger to overcome ignorance, to solve the puzzle, to impose order on chaos. This is the will to power. It is not the simple will to live, as his predecessor Schopenhauer believed. For Nietzsche, mere survival was a pathetic goal. Life doesn't want to just be, it wants to become. It wants to grow, to expand, to overcome, to master, to express its strength and potential. Think about your own life. Life. When do you feel most alive? When do you feel that authentic, deep-seated confidence? Is it when you are lying on the couch, passively consuming content, seeking maximum comfort and zero challenge? Or is it in those moments of intense effort and focus? The feeling after you've pushed through a brutal workout. The moment a complex idea finally clicks in your mind after hours of study. The satisfaction of completing a difficult project you poured your soul into. In those moments, you are feeling your power increase. Nietzsche wrote that happiness is precisely this feeling, the feeling that power is growing, that resistance is being overcome. Our modern world is an anesthetic for the will to power. It is engineered for comfort, convenience, and the avoidance of all difficulty. We are sold a vision of the good life as one of perpetual ease. But this vision is a trap. A life without resistance is a life without growth. A muscle that is never strained atrophies. A mind that is never challenged stagnates. A spirit that never faces adversity becomes brittle and fragile. Your confidence is low because you have been taught to suppress this fundamental will. You have been told that ambition is selfish, that striving is stressful, that being content with your lot is a virtue. Nietzsche smashes these idols. He declares that your primary duty is to your own potential. So, how do you begin? You must reframe your entire relationship with difficulty. Stop seeing challenges as threats and start seeing them as opportunities. Every obstacle is a whetstone upon which you can sharpen your will. Here are 3 practical ways to start engaging your will to power today. Embrace voluntary hardship. Deliberately introduce non-fatal, manageable stressors into your life. Take cold showers. Practice intermittent fasting. Wake up an hour earlier than you need to. These small acts of self-mastery are like training reps for your will. You are teaching your body and mind that you are in control, not your fleeting impulses for comfort. Pursue mastery, not entertainment. Swap passive consumption for active creation and learning. Instead of binge-watching another series, spend that time learning a language, a musical instrument, a coding language. The frustration and struggle of being a beginner is the very resistance your will to power craves. The confidence you gain from building a genuine skill is infinitely more durable than the fleeting pleasure of entertainment. Seek and destroy your weaknesses. Conduct a fearless inventory of yourself. What are your fears? What are your limitations? Is it public speaking? Is it social anxiety? Is it a lack of discipline? Whatever it is, you must turn and face it. Your greatest potential for growth lies on the other side of your greatest fear. Join Toastmasters. Start a conversation with a stranger. Commit to a 30-day discipline challenge. Attack your weaknesses not with self-loathing, but with the dispassionate strategy of a general who seeks to fortify his own position. This is the source code of authentic confidence. It is not a trick. It is not a hack. It is the profound, earned self-esteem that comes from the knowledge that you are a being who can overcome resistance. You are not a fragile thing to be protected from the world, you are a force of nature designed to grow through it. Recognize this engine inside you. Fuel it with challenges. And watch as a new kind of confidence, one that is not given but built, begins to rise within you. Now that we have identified the engine, the will to power, we must address the governor that society has placed upon it. We must confront the invisible cage of morality that keeps our will in check. Why, even when we feel the impulse to grow and assert ourselves, do we so often feel a sense of guilt or shame? Why do we judge ourselves by a ruler that someone else handed to us?